Sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Today, OTA is beginning. It's phase 1, which means it's voluntary. The disclaimer there is not in the building was James Cook, but again, it was voluntary. Bills general manager Brandon Beane talking with reporters today about bringing back Trey White.
We're excited to have him back. Hard to find a guy who's been here since we started this thing and had great things. Unfortunately, had some setbacks with injuries, but he brings great experience to our team. Felt like if you watch his film, it really improved from the start of the year with the Rams to how he played down the stretch.
Amherst game 1 of the best of 5 against Syracuse coming up on Friday. Head coach Mike Leone joining us later this hour. Yankees in Cleveland tonight. The Mets hosting the Phillies. The Rochester Red Wings opening a series down the road in Buffalo. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Both the Giants and the Browns fielding calls for the number 2 and 3 overall pick.
The Cleveland Browns select.
No, it's the Cleveland Browns. They can't do anything correctly. That's the thing.
Mike Danger.
Danger's got to feel like danger if I'm going to be able to come in here and perform every afternoon on the Sports Bar.
Gene Battaglia.
What's the Bills chalk draft? It would be this. Kenneth Grant is the first pick. Amos, the corner out of Ole Miss. And then you get the speediest wide receiver with the next pick. And then you're just picking best player on the board from there on out.
Who knows? In Bean we trust.
NBA takes center stage with the playoffs rolling along.
Damian Lillard will reportedly make his return.
I did know that Luka was important to the fan base. I didn't quite know it to what level.
Alex Ovechkin, the overtime game-winning goal!
95.7 FM and AM 950. The
Quoting Zion on a day where Danger's off. That's next level stuff. Zion Welling, because Danger's got to feel like Danger in order for Danger to do the show today. Which, Danger, this is the next level part. You know where he is. He's in New Orleans.
He doesn't. So many layers.
Yeah, so many layers to that. Where, and he doesn't tell you what he's doing because I don't know if he's got a lot of responsibilities with this. Bottom of the hour, the party that you are invited to, the Amherst playoffs. Game 1 coming up Friday night at home against Syracuse. Stanley Cup playoffs last night, and you have Washington up 2-0, and those pesky Canadians tie it at 2. But then there's Ovechkin in an odd spot. He's actually out in front of the net. We're like where you're supposed to be. Like, that's not his office.
That was one of the most insane hand-eye coordination goals I've ever seen. And it was from, obviously, the greatest goal scorer of all time. But to have that sort of ability at that stage, at that level, you have to be some kind of player to be able to put that puck in the net, especially in that clutch spot, too.
Yeah, you did have Colin Blackwell scoring. That's the one that got away, right?
Yeah.
Amherst fans, like
they never gave him a chance in Buffalo, even when Buffalo was at its worst. And he's turned into a pretty solid career out of it in the NHL with Nashville and Dallas now.
Isn't that funny? Like, we all talk about guys that got away, and we were joking, it's going to be the Avalanche, Casey Middlestad, who's going to. Well, if you didn't pay attention, he got actually dealt to Boston, and they're not in the postseason. So maybe it's going to be Colin Blackwell raising and then we'll be like, oh, we missed out on that too. And then I was not up for this, but if I had to guess, were you, Tim Schneider, up for this?
I sure was.
I knew you were. The Kings were up, what, 4-0?
4-0.
They blow the lead to Edmonton, who pulls the goalie. McDavid ties it late. But then that didn't go to overtime. The Kings won it at the end of regulation.
Yeah, 41 seconds left, I think it was. At 6-5 was the final. So it was 4-4, or it was 4-0, very late second. Edmonton scored with like 4 seconds left in the second period, clawed all the way back in the third, just to have it slip away with under a minute to play.
By the way, the one series to Jets over the Blues 2-1, but it's like, okay. Winnipeg, top team in the West, and we're just like, okay. City that's, I should look this up. Is Winnipeg smaller than Rochester?
I would imagine so. I can't confirm it off the top of my head, but I feel like Rochester is probably a larger city, at least by populace.
Yeah, okay. Winnipeg metro population. Yeah. It's only 850,000 people.
That's Canada for you.
Wow.
We're
at 1.1 million.
I think we just have reinitiated some bring back the Royals conversations here. If they can do that, we can do that.
Well, the point is, like, was Gary Bettman drunk? How did you allow a move from Atlanta to Winnipeg? Okay, the Thrashers weren't drawing anybody. The owner wanted to just dump the team and get rid of it. I get all that. But that would never, ever happen today.
I've wondered for many years how it wasn't Quebec instead. And Quebec will never get a team back, it sounds like, or it feels like. And is that a Montreal Canadiens thing, like keeping them out?
Like in Gary Bettman's world, it seems to me that if you're willing to write the check, congratulations, you have the team. Because explain to me, like, and if you could be like, well, Winnipeg's a great hockey market.
Sure.
Their attendance this year, they were not selling out to the point where, okay, is this actually going to work long-term here? And they're the best team in the West. So I'm not saying take the team away from Winnipeg. What I'm saying is that'd be interesting to kind of research how do they get the team back in the first place. I understand why they moved from Winnipeg to Phoenix. Yeah, make more money in Arizona, even with all the trials and tribulations down there.
Right.
Utah, how do they get a team? They wrote the big check.
I guess at Gary Bettman's world, people are cheering him in his head, so it's fine. He decides what he wants and ignores reality, and we just have to sit through it. Well, just like the silly playoff format. There's some good high-intensity games, but why aren't we seeding 1 through 8?
Tim, this is way before your time. This is me as a kid. But would you welcome seeding 1 through 16?
I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think it would take some adjusting. I think that the NBA should do it before the NHL, but I do think that there's practicality for it these days where you're not worried about traveling coast to coast and all that. Like, that was a cost thing back in the day, but now just do it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from the Gary Bettman, we want rivalries, and that, like, this current format. Okay, you get Toronto, Ottawa. Do we really care about?
They do, but that's it.
But
right.
that's it. Like, but you, what would be the difference between Toronto, Ottawa, and say Ottawa, Edmonton?
Right, it's
Nothing,
a playoff hockey game. It's going to sell out. You don't need to have a rivalry game to sell out a playoff hockey game. And if you do, you're in the wrong market.
Well, especially like you want to balance things out, Tim, because I get like the NFL is so balanced to begin with. Keep the AFC and the NFC the way it is. But if there was a sport that would seed like that, the Islanders, their last cup, it was a finals victory over the Flyers, if you can imagine that. That seems pretty strange to me.
Right, yeah.
Like be like
in
a first
today's
round
day, if you tell a 10-year-old kid that, it doesn't make any sense. But, yeah, that was how it was done 40 years ago.
Yeah.
40 years ago, close to it.
Close to it.
They won 4 straight, and they actually just fired Lou Lamoriello like a half hour ago.
Right. Well, funny how
did not retain him yet.
Like, silly Tim. The NHL phrasing is relieved of their duties.
Right.
The euphemism for your fire.
Career body injury.
The other one, Dan Bilesma, former Sabres coach, relieved of his duties in Seattle.
Botterill got the gig, not that job, but he's the Seattle GM now. They got rid of Bilesma and whoever the general manager was, and Ron Francis got a promotion to some fancy title, and Botterill got another chance to shape a team. So, I mean, his time in Buffalo just screams off the page. Great resume builder. So, sign him up. See how he does in Seattle. Sour grapes.
Chris Taylor, new head coach of Seattle.
I was going to say Michael Pecco, but yeah, I mean, it's similar thing.
There's got to be somebody with that connection,
There's
right?
ties. That's how he operated in Buffalo, and it didn't work out. So, I mean, maybe because it's not in Buffalo, it'll work out. But it's a tough go of it here in upstate New York as we try to watch the playoffs.
Listen, we got Mike Leone coming up on the hour. It's like anybody I joke from Buffalo, I say playoff hockey. It's kind of a cool thing we have here in Rochester, and hopefully we sell out on Friday and Sunday. Sunday, I like the fact that it's 3:05. Great, because you can then just kind of go right to dinner after.
Take the family out, have a nice little matinee hockey game. Go up in the series 2-0. Head out to Syracuse to clinch later in the week, but you spend your Sunday evening with a hockey victory and a nice family meal.
Yeah, that's the way to go. So we certainly looking forward to our conversation coming up at the bottom of the hour. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. You can write to us on Twitter. Our handle, The Fan Rochester, as we'll take a look at that in a second here. This is the time where, okay, ESPN and others just kind of throwing their hands up in the air. Right now, this is still their lead story. Browns and Giants listening to offers for number 2 and number 3 overall picks, according to ESPN's Peter Schrager.
And in the bottom left, we have a 52-hour countdown because we just can't get enough. It was on yesterday, too. I don't know when they started it, but this countdown has been going for literally hours, days, and we are just begging to get to Thursday night.
Yeah, but like Tim, that is not a story. They're listening to offers for pick number 2.
Doing your due diligence.
Wow,
is
not
crazy.
a story.
Yeah,
like Joe Shane, Giants general manager, reported for work today.
Yeah, it's
like what.
I get NFL fatigue, and we've gone over this before. Like, it's just, to me, it's just too much sometimes, and I am so, just for real, just get me to Thursday night, get the pick off the board.
Here's the difference. If we went through history, you would already have some trades.
Right,
you would
that
already
too.
have
There's
some, like
nothing's happening, so they're just begging
happening
for something to happen.
Nothing's happening. To the point where, like, okay, Aaron Rodgers, please say something on Thursday.
Make yourself newsworthy again because you just can't get away. And, Browns, you're not going to trade down, but we'll talk about you possibly listening to trading down. Giants, too. It's the lying season, and we are stuck telling nothing now. We are stuck in a grind where we are just waiting to get Cam Ward and whoever is next, Travis Hunter, whoever, just get me to the draft.
Well, that's
Kick
the thing.
things off.
The thing is, and then when we get to draft night, this is the frustrating thing. Okay, the Titans are on the clock.
And then we sit there and wait for 20
the whole
minutes.
time. Like, no, if this is a fantasy draft, what are we doing? Well, for television purposes, we need to talk about him. We need to run the vignette. And let's show the crowd here in Green Bay. This is fantastic. And then, hey, Mel, what do you think? Oh, this will be great, blah, blah, blah. And over to you. What do you think? And like, honestly. Like
everything's a spectacle.
The draft could be done. You could do like the first 2 rounds on night 1, but we want to make sure we stretch it out, certainly, and get everybody's thoughts and get time for the commercial breaks as well. That's why I love following on social media. I mean, people tip. I want to know as soon as possible.
I remember sitting at it was the Josh Allen year, and we were waiting for it to show up on the screen, and you just could not wait. So you jumped on Twitter, you got the answer, you literally snapped your glasses in half.
I did. Like,
and we were like, "What are you doing?" And then it showed up for everybody else to see, and it was like, I get it.
Yeah, and where we were, you had that, and that's how we were conditioned, and that should be the lesson when we come out of this. However you think your team did great or that you didn't do bad, you don't know jack. Yeah. You really don't. We don't. I don't. We can admit that, but you get emotionally invested in some of these storylines, and to think that I wanted them. It's still floating around somewhere if you found the video.
Yeah, I don't have the video, but it does
there.
exist.
It does.
I vividly remember that entire sequence because you were fired up. And you knew in advance.
I knew in advance.
You were scrolling the tweet machine.
Yeah, I had my readers, and I slammed my readers down, and I broke them in half. And I don't know if it was you or Tim Thompson or the guy Spider. Somebody was like, he's filming. Like, I'm like, who is filming?
I think it was Thompson or Houseman.
Houseman, that's right, was there that night.
That was a fun night.
It's funny how, like, you remember like where you were for certain sporting things and how wrong we were when it came to Josh Allen. So, again, Three Heads Brewing coming up on Thursday, where we invite you to join us. And, again, if the NFL can do something between now and then, I think I think NFL Network, ESPN, Fox, I think they would all be very, very happy. Like Infinity Sports Network today, we've got breaking news. Peter Schrager says the Giants are open to trading. Oh, again, okay, this is where we're at. The news bullet pointed to you today from Buffalo. Brandon Beane, Josh Allen, both talking. Josh Allen saying he's been texting with Keon Coleman, and Keon Coleman is bulking up this offseason. That's not a nothing, Tim. That's okay. You heard the message loud and clear. Now, there are some people, and I'm not saying Keon's one of them, but I think we just have to kind of point this out. Some people that talk a good game, but then don't back it up. So when we get to the portion of OTAs or minicamp where it's open to media and we can film, we'll be able to tell there. So I think Keon Coleman going in year 2 is, in terms of non-draft storylines, that's a big one.
Yeah, he's eager to make that next jump, and it's necessary for him to be part of this roster moving forward. He needs to jump up and improve from what he did. Like the way that his season kind of concluded left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth. So if he's working to improve upon that and he's in connection with Josh Allen about it, I think that's a pretty good thing to look forward to come St. John Fisher in a few months.
Yeah, that's definitely it. So, and then Brandon Beane talking about, and again, pointing out that James Cook isn't there. He doesn't know. It's not fair to talk about this being contract related or not. To me, it is a non-story. As you will always hear, these are not mandatory practices. They're not even practices. You're just working out. So what is it in the end of the day anyway? It's just another reminder, though, that you do have this storyline, and some would say about your most valuable weapon. Is James Cook Saquon Barkley? No, he's not. He doesn't really block. That's why he came off the field. Is he? He's not the kind of guy you can hand the rock to 25 times in a game. That's why you have the 3 other guys. But he fits this offense perfectly. And do you want to mess with that chemistry? And we talked to Matt Perino last hour. And look, it's not a 0% chance, but it's out there that if some team doesn't get an Ashton Genty or whoever it is that they might want at the running back position, then maybe they are picking up the phone with Buffalo and saying, what would it take? Maybe those conversations have already kind of happened.
Well, I'm sure that they have. It just hasn't made breaking news yet because it's not a top 3 pick. So he's in a spot where it stinks if you are a running back because you just don't get paid what you deserve, and your career just isn't as long as the rest of the positions in the NFL. I think that if you he brought it up in the segment that we had with him, that one of his listeners suggested, if you can just restart the rookie contract with somebody else and you do it with the pick that you got for moving him, it makes sense.
No, it does not make sense, and here's why. For starters, that player's not going to be anything close to what James Cook is. The money in 2024 is irrelevant. Excuse me, it's 2025. The money in 2025 is irrelevant. It really is. Like, I don't care about the cap. You've got James Cook under the cap. So you mean to tell me that this other player is actually going to be better? Hard for me to kind of imagine that. The only other thing, to your point, Tim, and I don't know this, and it's unfair, but will James Cook make noise? Will James Cook do this? I don't know. If they get a sense that this is going to go sideways like it did with Diggs, and it all worked out with Diggs, mind you.
Yes, the Bills are usually a step ahead. The fan base is usually a little fired up with some of the moves that are made by Beane and company, but all these guys, including Tre'Davious White, actually, like you get rid of guys right before you're supposed to, you get the most for them.
We've got Amherst head coach Mike Leone waiting in the wings as the Amherst. Game 1, Friday night. Here we go. Syracuse Crunch coming back to the Blue Cross Arena. By the way, keep Tampa winning. I can't believe this gets to, again, Game 5 Friday, May 9th. They're going to ask coach this question. What is this going to be like? Because you're playing essentially 3 games a week. On some instances, 4. You had a 3-3.
Right.
Okay, you're going to get 2.
And then 6 days off if it goes to 5.
Yeah, how do you, now what do we do here?
Or if you sweep them, you sit for 10 days.
Yeah, it's different. Mike Leone joining us next year in the Sports Bar.
The Fan, Rochester. If your fridge has better game day snacks than you have sports knowledge, it's time for an upgrade. Tell your smart speaker to play 95.7 The Fan and let your appliances know who's the real MVP. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Bills back in the building today. It's phase one of organized team activities, otherwise known as OTAs. Voluntary. That being said, not in the building today, running back James Cook.
And the board's getting wiped. Now we're looking, what are our options to go back? How far do you want to go?
Friday night, it's game one. Amherst at home against Syracuse. Game one of the best of five. We'll talk to head coach Mike Leone coming up next year in the Sports Bar. Yankees looking to get back in the win column against Cleveland tonight. The Mets hosting the Phillies. The Wings are in Buffalo. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Here we go. Friday night, game one, best of five. We will have the action for you. Don Stevens and Andrew Mossbrooks on the call. But better yet, go down and support this team for what we hope is going to be a long run. Giving us a few good minutes today, head coach Mike Leone. And Coach, thanks again for the time. Look, before we talk about the playoffs, I mean, congratulations on what was a really nice regular season. Your thoughts on what went into the regular season? How did it go for your team?
Yeah, I think it was a really good season for our group. If you just kind of take a step back when you're kind of in it and you're playing 3-4 games a week, you kind of lose track. But it was I think it was the first 40-win season since 2018-19. I think we had the second highest winning percentage in the last 20 years, and I think I was really proud of the group. It was this sixth time in team history that we gave up less than 200 goals. I think we finished third in the team in penalty kill. We were right around top five in goals for, goals against. So I think when you take a step back and realize what the guys accomplished, it was a great season. Now it's you got to turn the page and just get ready for the second season.
Yeah, now it's a different animal. And since we last talked, you had the win over Cleveland. You had getting the point up in Toronto, but you already knew you were going to be the second seed. And then kind of after the Sabres season ended, we did learn coming down. Kulik, Ostlund, Rosane, Kozak. They're all back, and the good news is that you do have that full week of practice. Mike, how do you reintegrate these guys back into the team?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think it's it's awesome to get those guys back. You just want to make sure I think it's just really important to get the practice days in. There's some ideas that we think of the lineup, but anytime you get those Cooley, Oz back, Cozy back in the middle, it kind of changes the dynamic of your lineup in a good way. It's a really good problem to have, and a lot of discussion and talk about line combinations and things of that sort. But I think everybody's really excited. They're excited to be here, those guys. Cooley hasn't been here since the start of the year, but I know he's really excited to get integrated with the group. He's been with these guys, for 3 years, and it was good to see him today, and I think he's really excited.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to who is playing, who doesn't, and everybody's going to be curious, but we don't need to know that until actually Friday, right? We don't want to tip them off, and you may not know at this point, but here's the first question when it comes to that. Ultimately, is it your decision, or is it one more of a group from you and Jason and some even higher guys maybe in the organization? Who ultimately makes that call, Coach?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's our call as a staff to, kind of decide where guys are going to be in the lineup. I think it's playoffs. I think it's more the decisions at the bottom of the lineup that are going to be really difficult. Guys that have been here all year that have probably earned the right to play. Then when you get guys back like the names that you just mentioned, they're obviously going to play and play a huge role. So it's more finding. There's a lot that goes into it. Penalty kill pairs and lines after power play that are really important. And once you get this far in the season, fortunate to be in the playoffs, there's a lot that goes into it. So we have an idea of what it's more the bottom of the lineup is where really hard decisions are going to have to be made, which is a good problem to have. You'd rather have it this way than not have enough guys. But Friday night we'll probably make the decision Friday morning and who's going to play, but it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, as Friday night is game one. We're talking to head coach Mike Leone here as we did, the team awards are kind of a nice thing that the Amerks and a lot of other teams kind of do this, but there's one in particular I want to ask you about because I think it carries a little more weight. This isn't voted by the Booster Club or the media or the fans or anything like that. It's voted on by the players, and that's most improved. And that award went to Noah Oslin. Coach, what did you see in his game throughout the year that might warrant that award?
Yeah, it was a pretty incredible, turnaround. Noah started the season, I think he had 1 point in 12 games, 1 goal. There was probably a lot of people that were from the outside were concerned about the production, but when you're around him every day, and he was playing really well at the time, he was generating a lot of scoring chances. He just wasn't finding the back of the net, and then the injury that he had, I won't go into details, but he went through a lot. It wasn't just like a sore wrist. I mean, it was pretty intense injury, so he was out sometimes, but he really dedicated himself to his training and working out, and that's tough on a really young player, and I give him a lot of credit for his work ethic and mental toughness to push through, and he's been arguably our best player. I think he's plus 20 and has 33 points or something in his last 27 games, and it's not just offensively, but trust him in all late game situations. He's out if our goalie's pulled. He's out if we need a goal. He's meant a lot to our group, so excited he got the opportunity to play with Buffalo, but excited he's back with us.
Yeah, as game one coming up Friday night, tickets do remain. Game 2, 3 o'clock on Sunday. Oh my gosh, it's the Syracuse Crunch again. We get these guys, and again, we had Mossbrooks on with us on Friday, and pointing out that this will be the 35th meeting now, going back over the last 2 years between these two, and who knows where we end up. Coach, if I'm going to ask you for the keys here, and you can't say score more goals, but give me 2 things your team needs to do against Syracuse to take this series.
I think we just I think the biggest thing is I think we got to play fast, and we got to play north, and we got to play predictable. They're a team that has the ability to slow down the game, and they're really structured. A lot of controlled breakouts, a lot of set neutral zone, and that's a game that we don't want to play, and we've had a lot of success this season against them when we play north, and we call it first touch, where it's get the puck north as quick as you can and use our speed to overwhelm teams. And I think the other thing is going to be, in front of their net, in front of our net. They're big, heavy. It's a lot of, low to high D shots where they get guys to the net. And then obviously I would say a third team special teams is going to be really important in a series like this.
Yeah, and that quick start too. And again, Mike, this is me talking, not you, so I'm making this clear. I'm not a fan of this best of 5 format. If it's a developmental league like they say this is, why not make it a best of 7? But I digress. We have the best of 5. That being said, just how important is it to take game 1 on home ice?
I think it's important, but if you look at, I think you can get if you look at the teams that's won the series the last 2 years, actually the team that's lost game one. I'm not saying we want to lose game one, but I think it's just you just got to play. You got to play the series, whatever happens game one. It's the first to three, and then. But it's important to get off to a good start and just make sure our team. I'm more concerned about the way we play. It's going to be really important to. I think there's a pace that could be set during this series. I think is really important to us to get to a certain game that we need to get to, and I think that's the focus going in. I think sometimes you're gonna, I've never viewed it that way. Whether it's a weekend series or games, it's just you got to focus on game one. Whatever happens after that, get ready for game two.
Yeah, the big question here, Coach. Devin Levi, I'm assuming he's in net. Which mask is he wearing? Is he wearing the Sabre one, or is he going to try out the one with the new one with the Amerks artwork?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I try to stay out of his way during game week, and then just tell him he's playing the night before and get out of the way.
Well, I mean, that's like you're coaching guys but how do you coach the goaltenders here? Now, when we had Seth Appert in town, he was a former goaltender himself, so maybe he would do that. But is that kind of just the way you kind of manage it?
Yeah. I mean, I talk to Dev a lot. Like, we have a great relationship. I talk to all of our goalies. I probably talk to Michael Hauser the most, to be honest with you. I lean on him a lot. He's got a great feel for the team, where the guys are at. But no, Shamo, our goalie coach, I mean, he wears a lot of hats in our organization, but I lean on him a lot. We talk about our starts. We have it mapped out. He's done a great job with Dev and all our goalies. So, Shamo's kind of the guy that's more the interactive with Dev during practice time and things like that. And I'll grab Dev or any of the other goalies to let them know the plan. And but Shamo's been a real ace for us when it comes to that. If you look at all the goalies, what he's done this year, I think all goalies had under 3 goals against. Not over 90 save percentage was really hard to do in our league. So Shamo's the goalie whisperer.
The last question here, because when we talk again here, Mike, this series is still going to be going on next Tuesday. Who knows? It could be going on till Friday, May 9th. So when you're in a pattern where you're playing roughly 3 games a week, and sometimes you get all 3 games on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, now you're downshifting to this. What type of an adjustment is that? Just making sure these guys are sharp in practice as you're getting ready for what is a limited amount of games now.
Yeah, I think it's just maximizing, the days of practice. I know it's like you gotta focus on the process and not the outcome, and just to really focus on we worked on some things in practice today that we think are going to be really important for the series. And when you have time to practice, especially this week with a lot of new guys in the lineup, new faces coming down, it's really important to focus on the things that we need to focus on, but also get guys comfortable and get reps together and just get ready for the game. But I also think it's a good time too to work on things that you need to improve in your game and just maximize the time that you have together.
Well, it's a run that we hope goes a long way. Friday night, invite everybody down Blue Cross Arena, and then Sunday at 3 o'clock, we'll have all the action here on the Fan Rochester. Coach, always appreciate the time. Good luck Friday night.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Coach Mike Leone of the Rochester Americans joining us here in the Sports Bar as here we go.
I am so excited this is my favorite part of the year for hockey. I mean, we get the weather turning. We've got playoff atmosphere in Rochester, New York is unmatched, at least at the American Hockey League level.
Maybe somebody can help me out. Sometimes they will close off Broad Street.
Yes.
Are they doing that for Sunday?
Have not announced it.
I haven't announced it, but that's possible. That would seem like, because to me, okay, not that we don't live in a city, okay? We live in a city of Rochester, but that feels different when you're just kind of hanging outdoors there, and we made it through, and now we're going to go into the game here.
The block party feel from they've done it a few times, but the one 2 years ago, I believe it was the clinch game to go into the conference final against Hershey, but it was the series prior to that. That was an energy that was so cool that like you could feel something special was going to happen that day, and it did. And the vibe in this city when the Amherst are hot and the team is rolling, it's a team to get behind, and we do a great job of it.
Yeah, and it's funny, like this team, Syracuse, and you heard Mike Leone kind of say it. It's not that the Amherst aren't physical. Oh, they can be physical, and they're going to need to be physical because Syracuse is one of these more plotting teams, and they're just going to wait for you to make a mistake. But going back to Game 5 last year, and isn't that funny? It's going to be like almost a year to the day, where it was May 10th last year, and Danger and I were out there. And Syracuse gets the quick lead, and they can play to their strength there, and they're being physical, and all of a sudden it's over. And the best of 5, that's kind of the danger here. And Coach pointed out, like, Game 1 doesn't mean you lose the series. However, getting that one, I'm greedy. I want a 2-0. I want this done and over with. Let's have this over.
It's nice to win the first one because then you're not on your heels. But as history indicates, just within these two teams in the last 2 series, it's not a necessity, but damn, as a fan, it feels a whole lot more comfortable when you're up 1-0 rather than down 1-0. And you jump on them Friday night, and you just send them back to Syracuse right then. Forget it. They'll quit. They'll forfeit Sunday, and then the series is over. Like if they can jump down their throat in the first period and maintain that lead, which they've struggled to do the last few games, if they can score a couple early in the first 20 minutes and take that momentum and actually capitalize on it, set the tone for the entire series, first half hour of the game, and move on. Like, take control.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are. I'm not really up on goaltenders outside of the division, right? But I can say that the Amherst have a goaltender that can carry them. Like Subban a couple years ago, he was fine. Like he did a very nice job, but you didn't really have that. Like Levi is the guy this year that you would expect to carry along. Now, the thing is, okay, say you run into Lavelle. Well, they got a guy too in Primo.
Yes, they do.
The Primo he's just as good, in my opinion. So that's going to be. We can't even look ahead to something like that. You just have to worry about getting, because Syracuse is going to be this great opponent that you're facing.
Yeah, it's like you mentioned with Subban. He was serviceable. There is a difference between serviceable and difference maker, and Devin Levi is a difference maker. And if this team is going to succeed, it's going to be on his back, and he's done it all season long. He tied a franchise mark with Ryan Miller for shutouts in a season.
Right.
And that literally has never happened before. Like, it's just the two of them.
Yeah.
And he is that good.
Yeah. And to think about it, Tim, like as Coach pointed out, 2019 was the last time you put up this many points, and it still wasn't enough to win this division. So this division is not a Hershey bear. It's just a bear. We will let's talk about some of the things happening in the NFL with the Buffalo Bills coming up next. We have time for your calls as well. 866-4326, 866-4FAN. Gene Battaglia, Tim Schneider, the Sports Bar here on the Fan, Rochester.
You're listening to the Rochester weekday mornings. Then let the sports banter make your alarm clock look like a bad idea. Bone-crunching hits, backboard-shattering dunks, bat flips and hat tricks. 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
You know, one of the nice things, Tre'Davious White talking to the media today, bringing back Tre'Davious White, kind of eliminated that silly talk of, well, the team that should sign Jalen Ramsey is the Buffalo Bills. Can we just pause here? How do we get to this point where the Bills were this afterthought, mocked in the league? Now, like, if there's a veteran, we're just going to automatically tie that veteran to Buffalo because Buffalo's a team that's always relevant.
Any player of notability, people want to go to contenders, and it almost never makes sense, honestly. But it's, again, we are stuck in this railing of NFL, let's make news so we have something to discuss, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And you get just nonsense and rumor, like some random guy puts on Twitter and then somebody somehow runs with it. And then we're stuck talking about whatever it may, like Jalen Ramsey and the Bills aren't a good fit.
Yeah.
Why would that ever be a thing? But somebody said it and now it's a thing. And that happens daily in this league. Like years ago, before Barkley went to Philly, it was Saquon Barkley's going to go to the Bills. What?
No, the silliest thing, and we talked to Matt Perino last hour, and Matt's going to be joining us on Thursday, but he's no longer going to do a mailbag, and here's why. And part of it, too, is a lot of these news sites are AI, and they're just kind of they're doing their whatever their algorithm is, and they are writing the story. You don't need a sports writer to write a story just for what these aggregator sites do. And this is what happened. This was the story where Matt Perino was answering listener emails. And he answered a question about if the Bills would be in the market for trading for a veteran wide receiver, and what would that look like. Now, we can, in this format, this arena, explore what would that look like. Could the Bills fit a wide receiver? What would they give up? Who might be some of those names? Well, Matt put down two names. And again, it's just like, well, you would, and it wasn't even any place of knowledge. You would look for young receivers that haven't been paid yet. It might not get paid, but you're going to have to pay them. And one name he said was Chris Olave of the Saints. And the other one he said was Jordan Addison of the Vikings. That was it. Just like in terms of a conceptual, this is the type of player.
Right.
That's it.
And then
all of a sudden, I'm out you know who it was? It was my buddy Mike from On Track Auto asked me, like, what's this about the Bills trading for Jordan Addison? I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? And then I look and, okay, it's one of these aggregator sites.
Yeah.
What is an aggregator site? Like Yardbarker, Larry Brown Sports, all these sites that don't have real writers. It's just we're going to have our AI do it. And, oh, my gosh. You trace it back, and it's like Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, reporting. He's not reporting this.
And that goes back to the thing during the Bills playoffs against the Ravens. This station went viral because of something that didn't actually happen.
Well, that's a little different.
No, I know, but it's still somebody just making something up. Or
well, no, actually, that was just somebody trolling. And I'm going to troll. That's the difference. This was
that got traction though.
It got because it was. So now that you brought it up, I've got to kind of explain. Like, what are you talking about, Tim? The thing that Tim is referring to. This is before the Ravens playoff game that somebody alleged that Matt Milano came on our show and had negative things to say about Lamar Jackson, which immediately every Bills fan said, "Okay, that's." That's not true because Matt Milano doesn't do radio interviews. But the next level trolling was the guy who did this in Baltimore didn't say WGR. He said the station in Rochester that talks a lot of Bills football. So, and you know what? It didn't take off at all. People just shot it down like, you've got to be kidding me. And I put out right away, we never had talked to Matt Milano. This is not true. Never once did anybody, Tim, think that was a true thing. the Jordan Addison rumors to Buffalo, they were totally fabricated. Totally fabricated.
Writes the story about it. There's no factual relevance to it. It's just somebody answering a question, and then the AI algorithm saying this was the answer to the question.
Like the AI algorithm when they source us now. We're WFAN Rochester.
Right. Great.
Like that's the name of our state. Oh, I didn't know that. There's WFAN New York. There's WROCAM, the Fan Rochester. That's
us.
That's us. Yeah. That's us. Which you can hear on 95.7. Our YouTube stream is up and working. Thank you very much to Pizza Dude, who a lot of people doing the good deeds today. The One Day One thing out in High Falls today. Good that our company kind of does that thing. So Pizza Dude taking a few minutes to fix our stream. We're also up on Twitch, and you can listen to us on the free to download Odyssey app. Tomorrow on the show, we still got another hour coming up, but Danger's not going to be happy because I invited back in Binkley. Now, here's Binkley's take. He honestly believes that the Chiefs are going to do this again to the Bills. That Kansas City's needs are the same as Buffalo, which I would question. I would say from the outset, what's the number one need? It's offensive line. Like, what happened in the Super Bowl? That's the root of everything. If they don't fix that, you need to get offensive line help. And thankfully, that is, are you kidding me? Buffalo is secure in that position. That's one thing that they have totally got right. And Aaron Cromer deserves a lot of credit on that front. Certainly Brandon Beane and his staff. But in Kansas City, I would dispute that with Jay. We'll have that argument on the air tomorrow. Coming up in the sports bar. Happy hours on the way. Our phone number, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. This is Rochester's only daily sports talk show, the Sports Bar on the Fan Rochester.
You're listening. Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Off-season work beginning for the Buffalo Bills. OTAs Phase 1 was what they call it. It's voluntary. Not in the building today. Running back James Cook. Again, it's voluntary. Bills general manager Brandon Beane meeting with reporters today. One thing brought up, bringing back Trey White.
We're excited to have him back. Hard to find a guy who's been here since we started this thing and had great things. Unfortunately, had some setbacks with injuries, but he brings great experience to our team. Felt like if you watch his film, it really improved from the start of the year with the Rams to how he played down the stretch.
Amerks game 1 of the best of 5 coming up Friday. Syracuse once again the opponent this year. The Yankees in Cleveland tonight. The Mets hosting Philadelphia. The Rochester Red Wings open a series in Buffalo. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Both the Giants and the Browns fielding calls for the number 2 and 3 overall pick.
The Cleveland Browns select.
No, it's the Cleveland Browns. They can't do anything correctly. That's the thing.
Mike Danger.
Danger's got to feel like danger if I'm going to be able to come in here and perform every afternoon at the sports bar.
Gene Battaglia.
What's the Bills chalk draft? It would be this. Kenneth Grant is the first pick. Amos, the corner out of Ole Miss. And then you get the speediest wide receiver with the next pick. And then you're just picking best player on the board from there on out.
Who knows? In Bean we trust.
NBA takes center stage with the playoffs rolling along.
Damian Lillard will reportedly make his return.
I did know that Luka was important to the fan base. I didn't quite know it to what level.
Alex Ovechkin, the overtime game-winning goal!
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
There's no other sport like hockey where you get to the overtime in the playoffs and you can't look away. You can't look at your phone. You have to have your eyes glued. If you look at your phone, you better make sure that the puck went out of play and there's a face-off and you're paying attention. And last night we had a few of those situations. Even didn't go to overtime. I didn't stay up for Oilers games.
I was up. Yeah, the three of the 4 games were you put your head down for 10 seconds and you just go back up, and it's like, what the hell happened? What?
Yeah.
The Kings game was out of control. The 2 overtime games were also wild. Like the comeback in the third period from Montreal was pretty cool. The way that the greatest goal scorer of all time ended it was awesome. It's hockey, man. It's playoff hockey. There's nothing like it. It's give me 40. Give me the longest overtime game in NHL history, and I'm going to sit through the whole thing.
I try to wonder what would this be like if the Sabres were in. I would imagine we'd be getting together and watching this and kind of it's.
I wish we knew.
Yeah, I wish we knew
for real. I've known you for a long time. They've made the playoffs since I've known you, but not as coworkers.
Right
before I got here, they were in the playoffs. They have not played a single playoff game with me employed by this company.
So to date you and to me, we were the last radio home of Rochester Rhinos soccer, and you came in and ran some games.
That was the first games I did were the Sabres. I just missed the Rhinos. I never did a Rhinos game.
Oh, I'm confusing you and Collar.
I think I was brought in right at the end of the Rhinos, just to have more arms in the building to do a bunch of the games that we were offering. And Nighthawks I had when we carried them.
Let's get back to the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah,
let's so the Bills today, you did have Josh Allen talking, you did have Brandon Beane talking. Brandon Beane, a couple things here. One, he went way out of his way to say James Cook not being there doesn't mean anything. It's not fair to James Cook because it's voluntary. Look, that's part of the CBA. You can't shame somebody for not being there, but it's also kind of noteworthy until we have James Cook saying I'm in, or until we have his representation saying something otherwise, or until we actually have a contract, it's going to be one of these lingering issues. So there you have that. The other thing, Beane today, tell me if this is a lie or not, Tim. Brandon Beane saying that the upcoming suspensions of Hoyt and Ogunjobi, the two defensive tackles, looking at 6 games, that does not affect how they prepare for this draft.
I'm going to do it twice because it's 2 players.
2 players.
Yeah, there's
lies.
That is not a truth.
Lies. Season of lying. Brandon. Look. If there is going to be a tackle that you really like and contribute at 30, or maybe you move up a few slots, that would not surprise anybody. But don't tell us that you're not going to draft based on need there a little bit, because right now, up until week 6, that's
right, because now it's a need.
Yeah, that's kind of a glaring need, if you ask me. Josh Allen also speaking today, and this is the first time noteworthy since Allen did talk to reporters on Zoom after he signed his big contract, but first time in person talking about some things. And look, there's a new toy for Josh Allen. His name's Josh Palmer.
Yeah, very excited. Excited to get to throw with him here pretty soon. Very fluid in his routes. He creates a lot of separation. There's a lot of advanced stats that show that. But seems like a great guy. He's a Toronto kid too, so I know that he's got a big following here, pretty close, and for him to kind of be closer to family, I know that's always a plus. But so far, just being around him, he's got a great personality. He's going to fit in that receiver room just great.
Josh, how do you build with Keon Coleman year 2?
Yeah, continuing to get reps, making sure that we're getting on the same page. Small little body mechanic stuff. When he's ready for the ball, what can he do to signal that he's ready for the ball? Just talking over where on certain routes where he wants the ball. They call them 50-50 balls, but is that just throw it up? Is that back shoulder? Is that high? Is it low? And again, I think the more reps that you get at that, the better that you get. So. Just trying to build those reps and get on the same page.
Now, there was one other thing I asked about, pressed on the receiver, Keon Coleman, and Josh Allen talking about how Coleman texting him this offseason saying he's working on putting on muscle, which, okay. Now, to hear that, if that's true, everybody should be nodding their head, because that's really what you brought in Keon Coleman here for. You brought him in the hopes that he would become that A.J. Brown type of, okay, give me the ball, I'm going to run over somebody. And you saw it a little bit, but not certainly enough. But again, it's his rookie year. But to have Sean McDermott call out Keon Coleman at the end of the season, almost to say, hey, next year begins right now, I hope that's true. And I can't wait to see how that'll look coming up in minicamp. Josh Allen also talking about another big name on the other side of the ball who, in his career sacked him a few times.
A lot of juice. He's been one of the premier pass rushers in this league for a long time, and I'm very excited to have him up here. I made a few calls and tried to recruit him, and I don't have much success in those, but I had success in that one, so we'll take it.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was cool. I mean, he's a great player. He's a great guy. I know he likes to golf, and he's getting into it. So I told him, get on up here, and we'll go golfing.
Yeah, I wonder where they're going to go golfing, Tim.
I have no idea.
Yeah, no idea.
But I'm jealous.
Yeah, Joey Bosa. What would be, honestly, I don't know, in Buffalo, what is the best course in Buffalo?
I don't know the name of it, but there is a pretty historic one. I think it's between Buffalo and Batavia. I don't know the name of it, but
okay.
there's a golf course
I'm sure
out there
that
are pretty intense, but nothing like here. Here is the Mecca.
Yeah, there's one that in Niagara Falls it's pretty nice, but when really, it's a little out of my realm. Finally, Josh Allen talking about, the guy that we're all curious about, James Cook.
I think the guys in this locker room understand the business side of it. I'm not the GM, I'm not the head coach. I know I feel like I have to wear a few different hats among the locker room, but that's not one of them. I just try to make sure that I'm focusing on what I can control and making sure that the guys that are here are getting the work done. And I know James is working out and getting the work done there too, and hoping that it gets figured out. But it'll get figured out when it gets figured out. So we understand the business side of it.
When does Josh Allen ever say the wrong thing? He's so spot. I don't know if that's just a lot of work that goes into that, but he's right. He wears a lot of hats, and that's also right. You stay the heck away from that. I recall Ben Roethlisberger, and some Steeler fan will know this. I don't remember who the player was, but there was some player that wasn't there, and Roethlisberger. Well, we need to get him in. No. You need to take the side of your teammate. Always. That's why it's called a union. Okay.
I think it was Le'Veon Bell, and it was mismanaged by all sides there.
Yeah, and that was, Roethlisberger was all said, but Josh Allen doesn't find himself in those situations. And like you hear him, it's like, okay, it's kind of spot on there.
He's pretty precise in his words, and he delivers with what he intends to put out there. Like what he says is precise and delivered with the intent that he's trying to get it to perform.
Yeah, we talked to Matt Perino, Syracuse Post Standard Shout podcast, and his thinking is kind of the same long lines of mine, that trading down makes sense. You're like, well, we're not going to need all 10 picks on this team. Well, that's true, but didn't say that you would have all 10 picks. Basically, you're trading down to make sure that you're right in that second round wheelhouse. And then you can trade back up whatever you have at the end, and maybe you end up with 3 second-round picks and a third or something like that. I think the opportunity is there for Buffalo. So talking with Matt there, certainly speed receivers are something that the Bills need. Corner is something that the Bills would need. And then this is also the thing, too. You're not going to be repeating the mistakes you wouldn't think of what happened 2 years ago. Not 2 years ago. It was more than that now. Forgive me. 4 years ago. My goodness, time flies. Talking about the corner that was traded to the Dallas Cowboys there. That you were not going to be making the Kaiir Elam mistake because you need that guy. Yes, corner is still a need on this team, but it's not a glaring need for the Buffalo Bills. So
yeah, no, they're in a good spot now where they're collecting depth, and they've got the assets in this draft to do it. And if it means moving a bunch of those picks to get their guy, which being said in that clip that we've been playing, they have the ability and the access to do so.
Our phone number, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. And we've reached the point where, thank goodness, we have the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs. Got the Yankees tonight in Cleveland. The Mets, the red-hot Mets, looking to make another win, Timmy. Make it 6 in a row tonight for the Mets.
They're on a heater, man.
You can't be excited. It's only May. Stop. I can be excited.
It's actually April.
No.
We're in a time warp. It's 2024, too.
Okay. Yeah. Smart ass. Right. It's not yet May. I'm looking at the point is, for the NFL, we're like 48 hours here till the NFL draft. Not even. Like, it's still a little more than that, right? You have the machine trying to manufacture stuff. And the manufacturing, like, I think Pete Schrager is insightful. I think he's a great reporter. I understand why ESPN. I'm disappointed ESPN put him out there this way today, because I'm driving along and I'm listening to our station and we got breaking news. Okay. And granted, this wasn't breaking news generated by us. This is breaking news coming from ESPN's Pete Schrager. I'm like, ooh, draft related. Okay, do we get some movement? Do we have the Browns making a decision? What do we have? The Browns and the Giants are listening to offers for picks 2 and 3.
No kidding.
Now, the ding is for a lie. That's not a lie. That's 100% true. That comes from the no S. No, I can't swear, Tim, on this show. No kidding. No kidding. You're kidding. Tell me other things. Water is wet. The sun came up today in Rochester. Like, what if it gets cold here in the winter?
Yeah.
Like the Browns are listed. Of course they are. Unless they have an incompetent GM.
Which they might.
I mean, the thing would be like, okay, the Browns and the Giants technically can't say anything because although the Titans haven't announced it's going to be Cam, will we ever get to a point, Tim, where we get the 13 with the number 1 overall pick saying, this is our selection? That's the way it used to be, because contracts kind of dictated a lot of this stuff.
Right.
Signability was a big thing. And then the new CBA in 2011 slotted everything. It made it so much easier for GMs. But the idea of, okay, we're going to draft a guy, but who are you dealing with as the agent? Can we actually – and you would have teams before the draft. Okay, we're going to select this, and we've come to terms. Like, okay, great. Since that point, though, have we had a draft where you had a team say, this is our number 1 pick? I think there's like an agreement all these teams have, or maybe it's a mandate from the NFL that for the TV product on Thursday night, you're not doing that. We need everybody to think, oh my gosh, who Who are the Titans taking?
Right. It needs to be a spectacle. And we know who they're taking, but they're not going to come out and say it because then the allure is gone. But they've honestly moved down. They know that they're going Ward. And now they've just pivoted to let's talk about the Browns and Giants because nothing's happening.
No, the Browns and Giants, I think, are done too. I mean, like if you're paying attention to this, because the Giants late in the process, okay, yep, dog and pony show. Here comes Shedeur Sanders. He's working out for us. Hey, if you really want Shedeur Sanders, come up and trade for number 3. This is like the year that I think it is absolutely predictable. Where does the draft start? It's not Cleveland at number 2 anymore. It's going to be Travis Hunter. I don't think it's the Giants at number 3. I think it's Abdul Carter. And I think Abdul Carter for the Giants with Thibodeau, okay, that's going to keep you in games. And you could say that could be the same approach to the Browns. But Travis Hunter, to me, Tim, you don't agree with this. You're going to get a fantastic player in Travis Hunter. A guy who could be Jefferson at wide receiver and a guy who could play some corner. Just who's going to throw him the ball? I have no idea. You don't either.
Kenny Pickett slinging it. Joe
great.
Flacco.
Yeah.
Great. Wonderful.
Right.
Feels good. Yeah, and it was brought up yesterday by a caller, and it's now a headline here on ESPN a little bit. Jerry Jones said that they're working on substantive trades. So,
yeah, of course, he's Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is going to be like Jerry Jones has been rumored. Remember, we had that. This was a lie, too. You had somebody from Atlanta reporting that, and I don't know how Atlanta radio would get this. And it wasn't even sports radio. It was like a music radio guy. It was like, yep, the Browns are talking about trading with Dallas. I remember the story now. It was JR. I'm driving home one night, JR Sport Brief, because talking to a guy in Atlanta that the Cowboys are going to move up to number 2 and trade Dak Prescott to the Browns. You remember this? I'm like, pfft. And then everybody immediately said that's not true. So some guy in Atlanta and some guy in Cleveland right now who are reporting that, like, yeah, no, that's absolutely not true. Load up, which is probably what they should do, but the way that they paid their quarterback, that they shouldn't have paid the quarterback. You know, if it was any other market, we'd be talking about what the heck happened to Trevor Lawrence last year. He was terrible. Like you'd say, well, that was the head coach. It was all these other receivers. By the way, let's take a little detour on this.
Sure.
Some people pointing this out today. So you have the new head coach, Liam Cohen, and he did his, kind of, pre-draft thing. And he's talking about the wide, his offense. Would have been credited for putting the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Championship game. 4 touchdowns, playoff game. Never's happened before. It's never happened since. It's going to be an odd trivia question answer someday. Who was that guy? Oh, my gosh, Gabe Davis. I remember him. It's because nobody was covering him. Like, okay, you're open. Catch the ball. And we all knew, Tim, that the Bills had a value for him and some team would overpay, and that was Shad Khan overpaying. I'm just wondering, because the Bills do like to bring back their own guys, maybe more on defense, but if we'll ever get to a point where would the Bills bring back a Gabe Davis, I wouldn't be opposed to that.
It's all about the price point, I think, and what he commanded in free agency. The Bills were wise not to sign up for that. But if it changes in a year or two, and he's kind of like Trey White, if it works out in that regard, it's a sensible thing to do.
Yeah. So again, he's not, but some people pointing that out, like, okay, is Gabe Davis actually on notice? Because talking about the wide receiving core that didn't come up today from Mr.
That is interesting to set the tone that early in the relationship.
Duval.
Silly team.
So like,
whole thing is a joke.
The whole thing. Like, give me NFL markets that you would want to go to. I mean, I would name one of them, all of them.
Right, literally, yeah.
All of them, and then Jacksonville. Like, what would Jacksonville? Like, if you were like, okay, you know what, I'm going to give you a weekend in Jacksonville. Okay, just nod in your head. Okay, I guess we'll go to the beach. Yep. That's.
I think there's 30 places in Florida I'd rather be than Jacksonville. So,
Like Tim, like I'm at the age where like Danger and his neighborhood Goombas. He calls it, like, I call them the Goombas, right? The Goombas, like one of the Goombas going, like Danger, like that's his dream. But hey, yeah, we're going down to Anna Maria Island. We're going to Fort Myers. We're going here. Nobody says I'm going to Jacksonville.
People from Jacksonville don't even
go
say
say like, yeah.
Right. It's
like,
not
how did that team, it was a car dealer named Weaver who got the bid. Like, that's Paul Tagliabue's legacy, putting a team in Jacksonville.
I am not old enough to remember the final. I know Carolina was also given a team at the same time, but what were the other finalists? But like Jacksonville was competing with who for the answer of Jacksonville?
All right, that's a good question.
Houston probably because they had just lost to Tennessee.
Now, what year? 1996 NFL finalists. Okay, this is fun. And again, these are expansion finalists. If I could find this here, Tim, because I'm talking off mic. Talks amongst yourselves.
Yeah, we've got live Googling happening right now.
Well, this is what happens when danger isn't here. Expansion finalists. Okay, I got it.
Houston is my guess.
Okay.
No, I cannot see it.
Okay, you cannot see it. And part of this is you have to remember who didn't have a team.
Mm-hmm.
One of these markets never got a team, but they were a finalist.
So they still don't have a team.
Still don't have a team. They will never have a team. And
Sacramento.
No. It's a market that has only one Major League Sports team, and it's an NBA market.
San Antonio.
Good guess, but not right. Ooh.
I think you got me. Or I just don't have enough time to think it through. But
that would be Memphis. So Memphis, never because Nashville isn't that far away.
I'd rather have a team in Memphis than in Jacksonville.
Well, Jacksonville gets the team, Charlotte gets the team, and then two other teams ended up being the beneficiary of moves. Baltimore. So these teams were awarded before the Ravens. Right. Yeah. This is 1983. And St. Louis, the Rams.
Bobbed around, right.
Yeah, so like basically the way this kind of reads to me, okay, when I say Baltimore, Charlotte, Jacksonville, Memphis, and St. Louis, all five of those markets were so buttoned up that they all got a team. Well, the Oilers were like a layover for Memphis, and then they ended up in Nashville. So they got a team for a couple years, which that's another bizarre thing. Like you had an NFL team playing in Memphis for a couple of years, but nobody ever remembered the Liberty Bowl, but they never did anything to the Liberty Bowl. Liberty Bowl, you say it like once a year, like whatever bowl game it is. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's
we remember when.
Yeah, we remember when. So there you go. Trivia, I couldn't remember that. That's what we do here. Sports
Fun
Bar.
little factoids.
Yeah, we take detours. I've got other things lined up here to talk about here in shots during happy hour. We got the NHL playoffs. We've got a former Syracuse player making a career change.
Very interesting.
Yeah, you pointed this out. And we've got some TV ratings we can discuss as well. Oh, and the honks are meeting here, Tim. College football and the new format. When I tell you the criteria, this almost reads like something from The Onion, where I'm going to tell you, no, this is actually real news. I will explain.
Excited.
Time for your calls as well as 866-4FAN, 866-4326 here on The Fan, Rochester.
Sports Update.
Felt a little like football season today where you had Josh Allen and Brandon Beane talking to reporters. It is OTA time, phase 1. Completely voluntary. James Cook not in the building again. It's voluntary. As far as Brandon Beane talking about the draft, talking about what goes into trading up or down.
Just read the board, and if we think there's a player we really love, fits a need, those are when I'm trying to trade up. Player we love, fits a need, and the value, that makes sense. If not, and the board's getting wiped, now we're looking, what are our options to go back? How far do you want to go?
Amerks game 1 of the best of 5 here on the Fan Rochester. Syracuse the opponent. That's going to be coming up on Friday. Yankees in Cleveland tonight. The Mets host the Phillies. The Red Wings are in Buffalo. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
The sports leader. 95.7 FM and streaming online at thefanrochester.com and the Odyssey app. This is the Fan Rochester.
Yeah, we give the NBA too much credit here, Tim. Welcome back to the Sports Bar. Shots here in the Sports Bar. Some of these stories we haven't gotten to. And the other end of this, we will have time for your calls. And last call at 866-4FAN. Danger will be back tomorrow. Give the NBA all this credit for being this league that is forward-thinking and they're ahead of the curve. No, they're not. In this day and age where Apple will buy games for Major League Baseball, Netflix, hey, we'll take anything. Why tonight do we still have a game buried on NBA TV for the postseason? What are we doing?
I think that weren't the last year or two of this TNT thing kind of a debacle? Like they botched it from that show is now moving over.
Well, that's kind of separate, but they've always held back one of these games, a few of the playoff games on NBA TV. And who actually watches NBA TV? Do you know if you have NBA TV on your provider? It's almost like an insult. Like, okay, we're just going to have the local broadcast of the Bucks and the Pacers on tonight at 7. So when I'm looking at this, okay, you have the games tonight on TNT. You've got Minnesota and Lakers. Ooh, okay, that's good. Imagine what the world's going to look like tomorrow, Tim, if the Lakers lose this one. Minnesota's up 1-0. You have Oklahoma City, Memphis at 7:30, which I would just ask, why? Just move on here. OKC won Game 1, if you missed it, by 51 points.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing about that, your point is, both those games are on 3 different networks. Why is this standalone game on NBA TV? Why isn't that on one of those? And then they just...
Well, they could easily sell another package and make it accessible for people. Like, it should be on a national broadcast.
Right.
It shouldn't be on the local yokel broadcast there. So that's...
I don't know what channel. I know that I have it. I couldn't tell you the number for it.
No.
So, crazy that's where we're at. And NBA playoff games on secondary networks.
Yeah, so the ESPN family will have the playoffs tonight in hockey, which means you've got Carolina and Jersey starting that one off coming up. The last Syracuse basketball player to become the NBA Rookie of the Year. I know you know the answer to this because he's in the news today. Michael Carter-Williams, who, look, he had a nice career. Look, I mean, Rookie of the Year, maybe that's as good as it got, but he stuck around with a while. He won it with the Sixers. That was back in 2014. He played his last game in the NBA in 2023, officially announced his retirement in 24. Well, that was just his retirement from the NBA. He's now trying to become a boxer. His first match will be a 3-round exhibition coming up on May the 29th.
That's a pretty wild career change. And he, if I recall, is a very tall point guard. I think he was like 6'7".
Well, generally speaking, most guys in the NBA are tall.
Sure.
But
not a boxer, though.
You don't see I mean, have we ever had basketball player transitioning over to boxer?
Manute Bol, but that was a joke.
That was a joke, yeah, for real.
Yeah, outside of like Klitschko, who hasn't been relevant in 20 years, like there's not very many boxers this side. Well, Fury too, I guess.
And again, he's not getting paid for this. I guess this is for charity, but this is kind of like his little test run. Okay, do I want to actually see if I want to?
Yeah, if it goes well, it's a thing.
Yeah. We a friend of the show, Dr. Russell Manalassis. So Dr. Russell would come in first year, and we during fantasy football, it was a different way to talk fantasy football with him. We'd be like, hey, what does this injury mean?
Yeah.
What, got to keep this guy and he taught us a little bit about how the body of an athlete kind of works here. It was helpful stuff when it came to fantasy football, just general knowledge. For example, Tim, this is why I thought of it. When returning from an injury, be careful. Be aware that sometimes soft tissue injuries in other parts of your body can occur. Well, in my opinion, the best pitcher in baseball, now mind you, I'm a Met fan.
Mm-hmm.
When he's healthy, Spencer Strider of the Braves. The guy has basically 2 pitches and he's unhittable. He just came back from Tommy John and he looked really good. Strider was playing catch and he pulled his hamstring. So back on the injured list.
Yeah, it's the Grandpa Simpson meme there. You walk in the door and you're walking right back out because he came back and he dominated last Wednesday and he's already back on the shelf.
Well, this is why sometimes you have extra rehab starts and you baby these guys, and now you have another issue coming up. So that Dr. Russ thought of you about it. We can say the Four Nations tournament was an aberration when it comes to how the general sports population consumes hockey. Can we agree on that? Because for a minute there, when you look at that drew 9.3 million on ESPN. Now, it could have been just a lot of other things going on in the world we don't need to get into, but that drew a lot of attention during a slow start. United States beating a bunch of teams, 2 teams, but then losing to Canada in the end. Why am I bringing this up? Well, the regular season ratings for the NHL on ESPN and TNT were bad. They were down double digits this year, an average of 12%. Now, look, if you included the Four Nations data, the NHL could say we're up 24%, but then you take that out, it's a big chunk. I would say also it's this too, Tim. Tell me who's not in the postseason. As much as we like, hey, there's Winnipeg, and hey, there's Ottawa. Okay,
Still
the Rangers aren't Boston, Philadelphia. Like a lot of these
Buffalo is a hockey market.
Buffalo will watch regardless. Buffalo will be off the charts, but let's be honest, Buffalo's a small market. It is the second smallest market in the NHL behind Winnipeg. The point is, though, I think that's the main reason. It's not that the product is off. It's that your big markets here that you rely on. Let's throw in Chicago, too, because Chicago would be totally gaga into this. Detroit, same thing. If you instead of Ottawa, if you had Detroit in the postseason, that would all help out. And you stateside pretty much whiffed on a lot of these markets.
Yeah, the major markets in the NHL are all watching Winnipeg, and that's silly because Winnipeg is smaller than Rochester, as we discussed. And Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Boston, perennial playoff teams that usually have deep runs, last in the conference.
Well, the funny thing is, like, there's another market, too, and I know they have their new arena, and they have very loyal fans. But to me, the Islanders in the tri-state area are invisible. To me, it feels like the New York Liberty are more relevant than the New York Islanders. I'm bringing this up today. They missed the postseason. Insane fired Lou Lamoriello. Lou Lamoriello is out. He's 82. Does he get another shot?
No, I think that's...
I know. Come on, Lou. We need you in Buffalo.
Career-ending injury.
Like, Lou Lamoriello was the guy who fired the coach right before the end of the season, and then the Devils win the cup. And, yeah, it was always a guy that was just kind of on top of stuff, but not getting it done for the Islanders, and that might be a career. College football honks today, meeting in Dallas, where they're debating, and we're picking this back up again. What model should we use to select the college football playoff? 12 teams, 14 teams, 16 teams. How much for each conference? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, we don't talk about this because to me it's a little bit of a Francesa, a little bit of a who cares. Okay, just give me the format, and I think I'm okay. Like, if you were bitching that you didn't get in because you were the 14th best team, I'm sorry, win more games. But there's one line, and this is what I teased before, that this sounds like it's something from like The Onion or some satire. One line in a report from Heather Dinich of ESPN. Okay, she's respectable, right? I believe her. It's catching attention here. A source telling her that when it comes to seeding and selection, seeding being key here, right? Should the committee officially accept TV ratings is a new form of criteria. TV ratings. Let's not reward the best team. Let's ensure we make the most money for our TV partners.
We've broken the system if that becomes reality. I mean, that is so flawed in thinking to actually somebody said that out loud and meant it, and it is now being discussed.
It would be like in the NHL saying, you know what, we like Toronto, Ottawa, but Toronto, Montreal would be better. And I know I know Montreal, you finished 8th in the conference, but we're gonna Ottawa, you go play Washington. We don't care about the Sens as a smaller market. Toronto, Montreal, they're gonna be the same thing.
Reseeding based on viability for television viewership is it's literally insane. I can't believe
that's
that.
Like, I'm like, it's jaw dropping.
Are we sure it's not The Onion? Is it? Because I mean, we live in a alternate reality. If that becomes reality, I think I want to log off. I don't like it at all.
No, embarrassing.
College athletics, the NCAA, just at its peak right there.
Shots in the Sports Bar brought to you by the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman Line, 866-4FAN, award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com. I was over there today for lunch and for Mother's Day, free mimosas they're going to announce. So bringing your mom there, and she's going to get a free mimosa.
You just told her. She's listening.
Yeah, so
that's what
listening.
We're doing. It's decided.
That's the Tim Schneider fan club. See, Mom? There you go. That'd be perfect for you. We've got last call coming up here in the Sports Bar where we have time for your calls. 866-4FAN, 866-4326 here on the Fan Rochester.
AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
We're excited to have him back. Hard to find a guy who's been here since we started this thing and had great things. Unfortunately, had some setbacks with injuries, but he brings great experience to our team. Felt like if you watch his film, it really improved from the start of the year with the Rams to how he played down the stretch.
Yeah, that's we're talking Brandon Beane and talking about our guy Tre'Davious White coming back to town. Yeah.
Future goalie of the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, right. The thing about White is this, and this wouldn't be true. He was the best defender on the Buffalo Bills. Not at the end, but there was a point he was an all-pro. Best in the league, right? And then it's a Thanksgiving game in New Orleans on the turf, and then, oh, no, that's really bad. And then when he came back, the next year he really wasn't that good. But then the following year he's starting to look like his old self, and then, oh, there goes the Achilles now. So an ACL and Achilles, and then last year, particularly with the Rams, like I remember watching one primetime game, I'm like, oh, my gosh. And the Rams didn't even mess around. But by the end of the season, last year with the Ravens, he was okay. So my point here, Tim, is about Tre'Davious White. You can bring him back, and he's not going to have, I don't think, I might be wrong on this, but I don't think he'll have the ego that's going to say, I need to start. He would be okay being reserved knowing where he's at. He did go out of his way to kind of compliment where Christian Benford's at, knowing that, okay, Benford was just coming into the league while White was in his last year in Buffalo.
I think he's at the stage in his career where he knows he's a complementary asset to a team that, I mean, they're welcoming him back, but it's not necessarily something that they needed to do. It just was a fit because he's been here before. And he's a pretty humble guy. I don't think he would cause any alarms in the locker room. I don't think they would have brought him back if they thought it would be an issue. So I think that they're both mutually happy, and I think it's a beneficial agreement for both sides of it, which is probably the most important part on a team like this Bills roster is set up.
This today from Dallas, and when we're talking about, all right, 48 hours, you need news. Let's turn to Jer. What did Jerry have to say? This courtesy of Todd Archer, ESPN.com. Owner and general manager Jerry Jones said after today's pre-draft news conference that the Cowboys are working on, quote, pretty substantive trades regarding players, although he offered no specifics. Others say that he's talking with teams. Hot air, Tim?
Yeah, we're in that 2-day window of nothing. No trades have been made in the NFL draft, and let's talk about things that could happen.
I'm going to say, though, this. And we talked to Matt Perino. It's not a zero that James Cook is on the roster of the Buffalo Bills come Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's one team that has their eye on, okay, Ashton Genty, we're at number 12. Can we get him? Can we get him? Can we get him? He ain't going to – I think we can kind of conclude, Tim.
He will not be at 12.
No, you're going to have to move up. So if the Cowboys get shut out and they determine, you know what, why don't we just keep our draft capital and we'll flip a second-round pick next year to Buffalo for James Cook?
I'm taking it.
I think I'm taking it too.
I think that James Cook is a great football player. I think the cost is too high, and I think that the way that this has kind of played out throughout the offseason while everybody else around him was signed to deals and his number is what it is, and they've pretty much ignored it.
If I'm Brandon Beane, I am saying, nah, you know what? We'll give you Cook and next year's second for your first.
I like that too.
I like that. Yeah.
If wheeling and dealing, let's find a way to make it work. But there's windows of opportunity here with this whole situation.
But the odds here are so small. But Jerry can't help himself. He has nothing to talk about. Why would you, if this is real, talk about pretty substantive trades? Sounds like he's got a wish list there, Tim.
Yeah, it sounds like more season of lying. And, you just can't get away from the NFL in the news. So it's again, this countdown has been on the screen for who knows how long. We're approaching 50 hours finally, and come Thursday, I am excited to just get this underway.
For many, 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 many years, Sunday Night Football, it was a good kind of nuts and bolts team. Joe Theismann, Paul McGuire. Do you remember this, Tim?
I do.
And the play-by-play guy, Mike Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Patrick passed away today, 80 years old.
I did not know that until just now. That stinks.
Died of natural causes. Fairfax, Virginia. Joined ESPN in 1982. And that second time today. His last call was in 2017 for the AutoZone Liberty Bowl.
There it is. There's that one mention. We've mentioned it twice.
Entering the show today, I had no idea we'd be talking about Memphis in two different ways. I did like that crew though. Like it felt.
It was a good crew, but I don't know if it would play today.
No, but then Sunday Night Football back then, it didn't have like the cachet matchup. It was more like the Thursday night. Okay, we're gonna be. And then at some point they realized, wait a second, what are people doing on Sunday nights? They're not going out, they're home. We should put the best matchup on Sunday Night Football. And I don't know if it was the NFL or, NBC, but the fact that ESPN once had Sunday Night Football. Okay, Mike Patrick leaving us at the age of 80. Look, if you missed today's show, well, I want to listen back to it. The Odyssey app, download it. It's free. You got all the treats in there, too. Like, you can listen to Mets baseball, okay, tonight. The Mets radio, Odyssey Mets radio. Fantastic. Just listen to it. Tomorrow on the show, we'll be talking to PJ Glass, your host of Send It In on the BetMGM Network. Also from 96.5, not CMF, 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City, the interloper, Jay Binkley, will be joining us. Tim, thanks for all your help this week, bud.
Happy to do it.
You'll be back next week.
I will be back next week, do it all over again with you, and enjoy my time here every time I'm able to do it. So, good times.
JR Sport Brief is next here. Thanks for listening to The Fan Rochester. Have a good night.
You're listening to The Sports Bar